cast their ballot for the choice presidential candidate in an election that will mark the continuous presence of democracy in the East African country. Kenya is noted to have advanced democracy when we look at other countries across Africa with consistency in their democracy and a high level of independence in the level of the judicial system. Separation of power has been noted to be existing in Kenya, taken into consideration with the nullification of the 2017 presidential election that was between President Uhuru Kenyatta with a running mate, William Ruto, against Raila Odinga, who has been attempting to become president of the country for quite some time. The Supreme Court under Chief Justice David Maraga nullified the election on several counts. One is that the electronic system that was used in transmitting the election that was approved, the electoral result which was approved, was not fully implemented during the 2017 election, and also that most of the Form 3B that were used did not have serial numbers from the polling station. That is why there was legitimate ground to nullify the election, and also the tallying process was not clear to Kenyans and was not open to Kenyans. That was why the Supreme Court, over a 4-2 decision, decided to nullify the election. Ahead of the 2022 presidential election, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission chairman, which was Shey Bukati, decided to implement some of the failures that were highlighted during the nullification process of the 2017 presidential election by Justice Maraga. They decided to bring a more transparent system whereby the forms will be well vetted, results that will be taken from polling stations will have serial number and signs, and also the process of tallying will be done in a process whereby all political stakeholders, major political parties, civil society organizations, and watchdog, national and international, will have access to the result and tallying process as it comes. An ordinary Kenyan from Kisunguru right up to Mombasa will have access to the portal as the tallying process is ongoing, such that they are all on the same table to see the results as they are coming in with the certification process. This, therefore, made Kenya to be ahead of most countries in the CEMAC subsystem and even in the West African community that similarly had embraced democracy. As the tallying process started immediately after the August 9 presidential election, all Kenyans from different walks of life, Muslim, Christian, pagan, were all able to have access to the result on the portal. With the tabulation and the calculation, according to Article 138 of the Kenyan Constitution, sub 10, which states that after 7 days, the presidential election will be declared. The tallying process all went hitch-free and no objection from the Independent Electoral Boundary Commission. From the members, commissioners did not object the certification process. They were all okay with the certification process. But at the end of the day, when the chairperson of the electoral board, who is Shey Bukati, decided with his team that let us tally the result and present it to the Kenyan people, then there was friction as 4 of the 7 commissioners objected the fact that the chairman should not read the results as they were. According to the chairman, he stated that the 4 commissioners wanted a rerun of the election, despite that their mandate was just to tally the result and present it to the Kenyan people without altering figures, but by stating and standing by the fact as they is and as they should be. And that was why there was discrepancy between the 4 commissioners. The 4 commissioners walked out of the election declaration process. Immediately after they walked out, they went to Serena Hotel and did a press conference in which they said, the co-chair said, I cannot own the result. And At the end of the day, during the certification or the announcement process, there was chaos in the hall, but thanks to the military of Kenyan, peace was restored into the room, and the elections was declared by, the results were declared by Chair Bukati, who gave William Ruto 50.49%. According to the constitution, for you to win an election, you must have 50 plus 1 vote, which William Ruto had that. With all this, there's still discrepancy as Raila Odinga, main opposition leader, backed by the incumbent or the outgoing president Uhuru Kenyatta, has denied the result and rejected, and stating that the chairman don't have the legitimacy and the constitutionality to declare the result single-handedly, even with the objection of the 4 election commissioner. With all this, what is the place of the electoral board, and what lessons can Cameroonians learn as we move to 2025 presidential election? Is this something that we need to put in policies to avoid this in future? What does the Kenyan constitution say about declaration of presidential election? This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Jarvis. Happy Sunday to all those of you who are joining us and watching us from Kenya, and especially in Nairobi. Happy Sunday to those of you watching us in Yaoundé, Cameroon's political capital, Cameroon, commercial capital, Douala, Bafoussam, and all the other parts of northwest and southwest region. And those of you watching us out of Cameroon, to be more precise, US, and also to Asia, and those of you watching us in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates, we want to welcome you on today's edition of our program, where we are looking at Kenya presidential election. There's disagreement between the Electoral Commission, and with this, what lessons and what laws should Cameroon put in place to avoid what is happening in Kenya should happen in Cameroon. And joining us in the studio is Dr. Michael Ndimancho, co-founder of the Nsah, which is a civil society organization that has come to right the wrongs of Africans and to make Africans to be emancipated from mental slavery. Dr. Michael Ndimancho, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you, Tah Mai Jarvis. It's a pleasure inviting me today, and especially, of course, not to talk about the new era Youth for Africa, which is a new civil society in Africa, but actually to be able to share my views on news-making events in this East African country called Kenya. And of course, we think that what touches on Kenya touches on Cameroon because we partly share that history. We were partly an Anglophone country, and we are talking about an Anglophone country in Africa. Thanks so much for inviting me, Tah Mai Jarvis.
So we are looking forward for a brighter future with Africa, Nsah inclusive.
Of course, Nsah has come to stay. Nsah is out to right the wrongs of Africa, as rightly said. We want to make youth agents of change. Let us shift from that blame game to be people who actively take part in the development process of Africa. Let youth rise up. Let youth ride high. Let them ride high on their abilities, on their incentiveness, on technology, on entrepreneurship. Youth are supposed to rise above all that is negative in Africa. And I think that is what Nsah stands for. Nsah stands for the fact that we need to instill in youth that confidence, because what the youth in Africa needs is confidence. Confidence on the fact that we can do it. Confidence on the fact that we don't think that the salvation or the success of individual success lies in Europe. Confidence on the fact that Africa is able to and ready to deliver. And who is to deliver in Africa? They are the youths that are supposed to deliver in Africa. And that's why we have to stand tall and strong. And that is what New Era Youth for Africa, which is standing for. To encourage the youth not to think that all is lost. Even those who are roaming around the street and they have very horrible stories to tell, we let them know that they still have more to offer to Africa. And of course, our individual governments of every country, they need these youth, even those who are in the street, to let them know that they have something to offer, because each and every individual has a talent, has a star. And of course, Nsah, New Era Youth for Africa, is actually going to identify all these talents and make Africa great again. Let us come together. It's about synergizing effort. We have started in Cameroon. This coming week, we're installing the executive in Tanzania, in South Africa. We want to make it an African affair to let youth know that we have to come together. Europe is where they are today because they work together. We live in a corporate society. You cannot more do anything alone again. We need to work together as youth, as ambitious. The world is changing today because of ambitions, the zeal, and the anxiety of the youth. If we change from WhatsApp, from Yahoo Messenger to WhatsApp and to Facebook, it is because of the ambition of the youth. And we think that we are not ended there. More and more changes will be coming in technology, and we are asking the African youth to stand tall as far as these technologies is concerned.
Geared towards emancipating African momentum.
That is exactly as you said, Mr. Tah Mai Jarvis. Yes.
Thank you very much. Of course, in the studio, we also want to say that we will be having Senior Barrister Ashu, of course, Julius, who will be joining us here to discuss the issue. And because we will be looking at the constitutional issue, and we need a legal mind to give us an explanation to this when it comes to constitutionality. Just to remind you that Barrister Achu, Julius has always been very focused in terms of respecting the Constitution. He always said that it is not a matter of emotion, but let us look at what was agreed. It may not be okay, but we should follow a constitutional process to change it. He will be joining us in a couple of minutes or so. And also here we are in the studio with Innocent Barozil. We want to say, Barozil, it is a privilege to have you. Happy Sunday.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Tah Mai, for having me. And I want to use this opportunity to extend my congratulations to all the candidates who made it during the just declared GC result at the ITV level and ATV level, and also for the general. Yes, I also extend gratitude to the teachers who, despite the job that they do, nobody cares to even thank them. That result has been declared, but instead to thank teachers for students who passed, they are instead insulting teachers for the ones who failed. But the same teacher will teach in the same school, 100 students in Form 5, 90 will pass, 10 will fail. The parents of the 90 who passed will not be able to thank teachers, but the parents of the 10 who failed will be insulting the same teacher. So I would thank you for inviting me again once more. I hope we'll do justice to this program.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. We want to say happy Sunday to all those schools that made it great, especially Somerset Bilingual College in Moliko with excellent results that were secured during the just ended GC. We want to say happy Sunday to you, Eta Thomas, and also our mentor who did their best to ensure this effective result at the Somerset Bilingual College. Dr. Michael, thank again for joining us. We also have Senior Barrister Achu Julius. Barrister, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jarvis, for inviting me today. Happy Sunday to Dr. Ndimancho and panelists on my right, on my left. I would like to send some hearty congratulations to the teachers who have mentored the students that passed GCE, O-level and A-level this year, as well as special thanks to God for Clovis Naseri, who braved the odds, dropped his guns, went to the center and prepared and passed his GCE exams. I think that's a good example to emulate. Once more, happy Sunday to Cameroonians, and we are here at my media prime to give the best of us to inform you people.
Especially those teachers from the Northwest and Southwest who braved the odds.
Of course, especially them. I say teachers in general because let me not specify, but we'll have to congratulate teachers for what they've done. The job well done. Job well done. Really.
Thank you very much. I'll begin the program with you, Senior Barrister. This is a constitutional issue, and I believe that Cameroonians will also have to learn. We have to prevent this from happening in such a way that as we prepare for 2025 election, there is need for us to look at the Constitution. You have always stood for the fact that we must go by what has been agreed legally, and that even if it may not be okay, we should follow the legal process to make it okay. Kenya just had a presidential election with the chairman of the electoral board declaring the result. But there is also a problem because 4 of 7 of the electoral members objected the result, and the chairman, Chebukati, said the 4 members wanted a rerun of the election and that they did not have the mandate to change the election. They have the mandate to present the result as they were. First of all, what do you make of this kind of situation?
I think one thing is certain. Kenya is a democratic state, and the rule of law is predominant and prevalent on every situation. I went to the constitution of the constitution of Kenya, and I realized that the members of the Electoral Commission have a right only to tally and declare. And the person who has the right to do declaration is the president and no other person. So when I followed up the interview of those dissidents in the Electoral Commission, they said they cannot identify themselves with those results and cannot certify them. They don't have a right to identify themselves with such a result. Neither do they have a right to certify. Welcome this thing of wanting to go against the Constitution of Kenya itself. So I feel that there's something wrong about it. And you see the mature population, nobody has gone out to cause a riot. They think it's supposed to be a constitutional issue, which has been handled constitutionally and as per the law. Raila Odinga, who is alleged to have lost, has declared that he's going to take the matter to court. Fine, free and fine and good, which is the right way to go, rather than instigating the population to kill each other, to harm each other because of elections. He has said he's going to court, which is something very good. But again, out of everything, Raila has been a persistent opposition candidate in elections in Kenya for long. I think one thing you should understand is the fact that he can be a kingmaker, but not the king. But you see, because it is not normal that for more than 5 elections you'll be running, you've never won any of them, but you're always running. It means that people like you, but not the majority of people like you or support your ways. But you can make somebody to become the president of Kenya at any time just by giving out that word. And he's about 77 years old today, and I think starting as a freshman in presidential elections is not a good thing for him. He should understand that the Kenyan people have decided and go by it. But in any case, I stand by the law. Whatever the verdict will be from the Supreme Court, all of us are supposed to bow to it.
You are a legal man. When you look at the argument brought forth by the 4 commissioners and even Raila Odinga, I will place except when after must have had everybody, so that you have to give us a legality here. When you look at this declaration, they are saying that it's against the constitution, but they are not citing constitutional breach.
That's why it's not good to follow a blind man to the river, because you fall in it without knowing. All what they are saying is just based on circumstantial facts and nothing not by the law. As I said again, the members of the commission have no right to declare elections. Only the president alone has that privilege as per the constitution. So whatever the president says is supposed to bind the commission. And you see, when they come here to start wanting to find out, to go for a rerun and things like that, they're the ones causing the confusion in the community. So that thing should stop. It's not everything that you see at times and you say, especially when it comes to politicking. When it comes to politics, you have to be very careful what you say. Go by the law and check if what you're going to say is right or not or wrong. Secondly, Raila said that the results were a joke. How can you say that? After millions of Kenyans have voted, after thousands of Kenyans have tallied, counted, and made their presentation, and you come and say in public that it's a joke? I think there's something wrong here. And any constitutional lawyer will believe in me that, look, what Raila is doing is not correct. What he said from day one, because I heard him from day one, he said he was going to go to court, which is the way to go. But not making a speech to call it a joke. At least it's elections for the presidential candidate. If you participate in an election which is a joke, then you yourself, you are a joke. So then he should be very careful what he says to the public when it comes to politicking, as I say.
Okay, Dr. Michael Ndimancho, your reaction?
Yes, I think that there is a kind of a marked sign of immaturity in the way that professionals did their work in as it concerns the independent and electoral boundary commission in Kenya. They had some reasons, of course, but I don't think that these reasons will have actually led them to wash their dirty linens in public. And I will cite some of the reasons that they gave, which, of course, well, it was a point, but the way to go about the point was not the issue, because they said, vote exceeded by 0.1%. Yes, that was the point. It means that something was added. And when you put this in terms of figure, they were talking about 140,000 votes that were, exceeded the total number of registered voters, which of course is a point we have to consider. Now, they also talked about the total number of registered voters were not established. Yes, this is one point which they advanced. And they said total number of vote cast and registered ballots were not established, which of course is something that we are supposed to look at. And then they said the Wafufula, which is the IEBC board chair, actually he was accused of announcing votes when all the ballot boxes had not yet come. Means that he announced earlier than receiving all the ballot boxes for counting. And yes, we accept that they may have a point, which is a limping point in one way, because no electoral this is perfect. But we think that this is something they will have cleared internally, rather than the vice chair segmenting itself and taking, herself and getting off with 4 members of the electoral board to make that declaration. This is a problem. That, and you know that sometimes we need to get to the historical facts of the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission, which of course came during the 2010 revision of the Constitution. You know, since 1963, Kenya was using the Independence Constitution, and they thought IEBC was a historic move for Kenya to be able to move forward. Yes, and actually be able to stand tall in the face of all those difficulties. They thought that a lot of things were cleared for Kenya to move forward. But I'm disappointed because Odinga, since 1997, has been somebody of going to the Supreme Court all the time. Because this thing has been engineered by Odinga, Raila Odinga. It is somebody who is fond of going to the Supreme Court all the time that we wrote at Because you look at all his electoral history, Odinga has always gone to the Supreme Court. Remember in 2017 elections, there was a rerun. Yes. And he actually clamored for the rerun election, but refused going for the election. What kind of a candidate is that? So now you see that Kenyans do not have a lot of money to spend on electoral rerun, and I'm sure that they learned a lesson in 2017. If they have to go for a rerun, then I would think that Kenyans are fools, because the money they spent for that rerun in 2017, which after the protagonists refused to go, they should know that there was something wrong. And you remember that in 2018, there was this issue of reconciliation.
Yes, the handshake. Which is a building bridge initiative.
This kept Kenyans thinking and said, this man who calls for a rerun refused to go for a rerun and did a handshake in 2008 and saying that, okay, this is my border, everything is. So in 2022 again,
like a gray and
gray, the man is promising again that he's going to meet the competent court. And since 2013, he has been meeting the competent court, and nothing has shown proof of. So I think the Kenyans will be wiser than they were before 2010, where they had this revision of constitution.
Briefly, your reaction, because after that we make room for you.
Okay, so I always should say that the Raila Odinga is a power monger. Yes, because if it's not power monger to me, at his age, he would have even just stayed. Yes, would have even stayed. And for the vice president of the electoral commission to go out with other members, it shows that there is because initially all of them accepted the result.
They accepted the certification process.
Yes, the certification process.
They did not object the certification.
But when it comes to coalition now, they went out of this thing. It shows that there is either Kenyatta wants to, because to me, it would have go out a clean man, because he wants that the person that is supporting should win, because of the reconciliation which you just mentioned here that they did in 2018. In 2018.
The handshake.
Yes, the handshake. Because of that, so he wants to use all the means that Raila Odinga should be the president, but of which the Kenyan people have decided, and about 14 million or more voted, which shows that what one thing which I am with them is that the lesson that Cameroon should need to learn from there is that, first of all, if there can be a disagreement in the electoral commission in Cameroon, you cannot try it, because if you try it in Cameroon, by now heads would have rolled.
No, but you cannot say that.
No, I'm trying to say that they would have fired some of them. No. In Cameroon, you cannot try. In Elekam, you cannot try anything that even the Elekam, even the chairman of Elekam does not even have the powers. because he control the election, not even him. Because, for instance, the Dio in Cameroon also take part in elections, now in Cameroon. But they said the electoral body is independent. How? Because the Dio is appointed by the head of state, the senior Dio is appointed by the head of state, the governor is appointed by the head of state. After the election, after the people cast a vote, they collect it at the center, take it to the Dio's office. From there, they take it to the city divisional office, take it to the governor. But then those other processes will come in. And that is why Cameroonians don't have faith in elections. In a country of over 25 million, not up to about 4 million people register. Let alone
vote. We vote. Because last time we had about close to 4 million who voted.
Well, okay, at least that means that but look at the difference. Because now, if you, since 2025, and they do census, if they do census now in Cameroon, will be about 30 something
2006, 2005?
Yes, 2005. And they do census. If they do in Cameroon, will be about 30 million. Only 4 million people voted because they don't have confidence in the electoral commission. So I want to say that they need to learn that at least Kenya have independence in their the electoral commission have some degree of independence.
Briefly, I want to ask you this: is there any independent electoral commission in any country in the world whose members are not appointed by the president? And I just want to understand because when we look at even Kenya, even US, the president makes the nomination.
Yes, the president makes the nomination and the Senate confirms the nomination, which shows that it's both the executive and the legislature that confirms the person. And if you look at it, for instance, Jonathan was the result of the 2015 result.
And he lost.
Then he lost.
So someone he appointed.
That is it.
So it means that the same thing can happen in Cameroon.
It shows you that that guy has a degree of independence. He has his independence. That is why he was appointed. But yeah, when you appoint somebody, they still put lights on you. They are monitoring you, controlling your activities that you should do. In short, they are the ones that tell you what to do. To me, in Cameroon, there is no need for this electoral. To me, there is no need.
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, I want to say that the House of Commons will be donating rice to some internet displaced in Bonaberi today, and that's why we have Nsah here who is doing the organization, and he'll be replaced here by Ndum Emmanuel to continue the debate. I continue with you. Your reaction before coming to Barrister Achu.
Concerning the Kenyan election, I think my reaction is that Cameroon has a lot to learn from them. I was reading an article concerning, written by the U.S. Institute of Peace. They wrote something about the Kenyan election, and they came out with 3 points. They talk of transparency and transparency and credibility of the Electoral Commission. If you want to compare that with Cameroon, because we're just now doing a comparative analysis, Kenyans are somehow matured when it comes to politicking and democracy more than us Cameroonians. If you look at the number of people who voted, it shows that they are way more matured. And we want to compare the voter turnout, why Odinga and Roto won, Odinga won in about 27 counties. But if you look at the voter turnout in those counties, it was less than 50% compared to the 20 Roto won. Yeah, with about
2017.
Yeah, about 75% voter turnout. That's what made Roto to win. And then you cannot compare the Electoral Commission of Kenya and that of Cameroon, Elecam. They somehow have independence compared to the one we have in Cameroon. The one in Cameroon is so much, there are so much strings attached to them. First of all, they are not independent. They are just an electoral commission that don't proclaim result. They just carry out the process, and then it is somebody else who proclaims. But
they are following constitution. At least it is what is stated in the constitution.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that those provisions are made from a selfish point of view, not so much so that elections should not be transparent. I don't know why they are afraid of that. Maybe it is just normal. A system that has been in place for 40 years will always have those kind of electoral systems. You cannot expect them to have a good and a transparent electoral system that will come and vote them out. No, it's just tied with the kind of system we have. I think we really have a lot to learn from if you have been studying Kenyan election. It has been so violent in the past. And as time is progressing, you see that it's being done with a lot of peace. 2013, they went to court at, I think Odinga challenged the election of Uhuru Kenyatta. They went to court and then there was a rerun. This time around, he's saying that he will go to court. I don't see, I think, to me, I'm seeing that this is his last attempt because he has tried this for too long and has not succeeded in winning. I think this is his last attempt, and it will be a welcome idea if he gives room to the younger generation.
When you say yes, so to you, don't you think that Kenyans also has a lot to learn from Cameroon? Because since from after 1992, the rest of the presidential election in Cameroon has been peaceful in terms of not had that level of violence in the election in Cameroon. Don't you think that it is also vice versa, that in as much as Cameroon learned from Kenya, also Kenya too should learn from Cameroon, because we've had the just ended presidential election, it was peaceful.
No, it was peaceful with a high, because of a high voter apathy. 3 million Cameroonians voting, or being registered to vote for election, and then not up to that number who register even went to vote. So you see that 3 million out of about 25 million, about 22 million Cameroonians not being interested in election. So it is bound to be peaceful.
Okay.
3 million people who voted. It is just not natural that it was peaceful.
Juma Manuel, you're welcome and thanks for joining us. When you look at what is happening in Kenya, what are your thoughts?
Thank you very much for making it so pleasurable for me to join the panel. I must say, I want to take this opportunity to greet Senior Barrister Julius, Dr. Ndimancho, Michael, and everybody. Now, the first remark I want to make is that Kenya is speaking, and Kenya is speaking at a time when most African countries are supposed to start listening and seeing what is happening in Kenya. Of course, democracy is not something that just gets up in the morning and matures by the afternoon. It's a process, we must say, because we must remember that it is a value that was imported from somewhere. And over time, us Africans have failed to adapt it to the existing realities of our environment.
As is a cultural aspect.
Yes, for sure. Because, you know, if I were to say it my own way, I would believe that African traditional democracy has been more successful than the Western democracy. That's a fact. Because if I take the example of Com Kingdom, where I come from, we have never had succession dispute because it was well tailored in a way that it followed the traditional values of the Com people.
From this family to this family.
Yes, and there has never been a dispute. When a phone disappears, as they said in our dialect, or in our Com culture, we already know who is going to succeed. And by that virtue of understanding, clashes has never occurred. That said, to come back to your question, which falls squarely or directly on this imported democracy, like I said, it is a process. And in that process, Africans, Kenyans, Cameroonians have to learn how to shift it to adapt to the existing realities of Africa. But then in a situation where some countries have decided to respect the Western democracy 100%, like the case of Cameroon per se, that is why we're having a lot of problems. And that is why you will discover that in a country with about 350 ethnic or tribal groups, any tribe has its own cultural values. If we were to succeed, maybe 30% in this thing called democracy, which actually has failed in most African countries, because Cameroon has not failed as an individual, was an isolation. The whole African country suffers from this Western democracy, because the way it came and separated the people from their original traditional values and beliefs. So I want to think that what has happened in Kenya, my first message is going to the person who has been notorious in taking people to court. You see, Raila, I have a problem with Raila Odinga because as of now, he is 77. And I think at 77, if he was a serious politician, he must have been grooming up young politicians to take the relay baton. This is the time for him to go down into the positive books of history in Africa as the only opposition man who tried 5 times and failed, and finally handed over the baton to a well-trained generation to take off from where he ended. But going to court makes him to end up like Frundi in Cameroon. And you will understand and bear with me that when you live in power for so long, you end up living through the back door. When you stay for so long in opposition, equally you end up living through the back door. It is good that when you become a renowned opposition, you should be grooming.
Like a kingmaker, Senior Barrister Achu said.
For sure. And I buy that idea. Because when you groom people to take over you, you live in honor. You don't live in dishonor. I think he should reconsider his stance. If he had any plan to carry Kenya forward, he should give this plan to this young man, Ruto, who is just 55 years. First of all, we have an organization that is running across the whole of Africa. NEA has as plans to restructure the administrative system of Africa, to put youth at the center of every activity, and to use all these old people as our advisors, so that we tap from their wisdom plus our intelligence, and we get somewhere.
We learn from their failures.
Yes, and we learn from their failures. So I don't think it's every time that you take people to court, and you have never won. That's the worst part of it.
No, but he won 2017.
No, he won. Is he power? No. He won. He did not win. To me, he won for a rerun, but in a rerun he failed because he went for a handshake. So he's a failure. I think for him to stencil his name on the golden books of Kenyan history, he should give up, give his project to this young man to carry forward. And from what Cameroon should be learning from them is that if we were to go by facts and figures, you will discover that about 14 people of the population plus voted, which is contrary to 3 million. 14 million, yeah, which is contrary to 3 million in Cameroon in 2018. We have often seen that there have always been post-election violence in Kenya, but we have not, for once, seen the number of opposition militants languaging in jail. We have not seen political insults flying left and right. I think my dear fatherland, Cameroon, should be learning from that. Because, like I said, you will be told somewhere that we are in advanced democracy. Yes, of course, because before we go to polls in Cameroon, we know who will win. That is the advanced democracy. I want to think that if we take the advanced democracy, add to what has happened in Kenya, we filter it, then
we'll come up with something
unique.
Senior Barrister Achu, in 2017, I want us to look at this again legally. A Supreme Court, Raila took the matter to Supreme Court. Supreme Court ruled in his favor, ordered a rerun. He rejected the rerun and went ahead and installed himself as a people's president, carried out a swearing-in ceremony. Is it not, can we not say that he failed the Supreme Court and he failed to respect the victory that was given to him? He disqualified the victory. Is it not that sense?
That is what he's paying for now. You see, the population is very sensitive. When you make some certain political mistakes, they note it and keep it in the archives. And when the time comes, they bring it on the table. Raila is suffering from his inconsistency when it comes to managing political failures or successes. He purported to have won the elections, and the declarations were done in his favor. He took the matter to court. The court said, okay, let there be a rerun. But at the end of the day, there was no rerun. He ended up compromising himself by accepting the verdict at the end of the day. You should know that in politics, there's so much that is done behind the scenes. Politics you see in public is just about 1/3 of politicking. The real politicking is behind the scenes because you don't expose everything to everybody. Only a number of few always know what's going on. And what I think Raila wants to do now is to come back and get the same advantages of the handshake. It goes without saying. But when you see him talking, he didn't have the conviction of what he was saying. To me, by looking at his body politic, looking at his face,
maybe we'll play it,
he didn't have that. You see, that conviction was not there.
maybe we'll get his excerpt, then we'll come back to you and the team to analyze it from his speech, because he talked about the fact that the chairman did not have the powers to declare the election, that the chairman did not meet the quorum, and that also the elections were rigged, which means that even if he had been declared winner, it was a rigged election.
And you cannot even tell the last.
He said it was a joke.
That we will
Let's
not
go.
hear. But because there is a God in heaven, we are here. And I want to, in a very special way, say and confess that without God, we wouldn't have been here. My gratitude also goes to the people of Kenya, the millions who listened to us, the millions who participated in our campaigns peacefully, the millions who turned up to vote for us on 9th of August, and the millions who have waited patiently until this announcement has been made. Specifically, I want to thank my fellow countrymen and women because we have raised the bar in this election. Jointly, we have raised the bar. This election was much about the issues than the ethnic configurations that have always informed our elections. Gratitude goes to the millions of Kenyans who refused to be boxed into tribal cocoons. I am a very proud Kenyan this evening that the people of Kenya have raised the bar on us who are seeking leadership in our country. Not to sell our ethnicities, but to sell our programs, our manifestos, our agenda, and our plan. Let me also say right at the start that in here and in this election, there are no losers. The people of Kenya have won because we have raised the political bar. I want to say that the people of Kenya, led by the 14 million who turned up to vote, are the biggest winners. The hero of this election is the IEBC, led by Wafula Chebukati. I say this with conviction that the IEBC amazed all of us. With the results in the public portal, all the servers were open. And everybody, all you needed is a simple calculator, and you would have the results. I want to congratulate the IEBC for raising the bar.
And of course, let's get now to Raila Odinga, who is the main opposition party backed by outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta.
2017, the Supreme Court of Kenya nullified the presidential election again because of the misconduct of the IEBC. What we saw yesterday was a travesty and a blatant disregard of the Constitution and the laws of Kenya by Mr. Chebukati and the minority of IEBC commissioners. The law is clear on the role of the chairperson of the IEBC. The law does not vest in the chairperson the powers of a dictator to rule the IEBC unilaterally. The IEBC is structured as a democratic institution in which decisions must be taken either by consensus or by a vote of the majority. The chairperson and a tiny minority of commissioners have no legal authority to take weighty decisions and proclaim them as the rulings of the IEBC. The law on the IEBC provides that unless a unanimous decision is reached, a decision on any matter before the Commission shall be by a majority of the members present and voting. I want to repeat. Unless a unanimous decision is reached, a decision on any matter before the Commission shall be by a majority of the members present and voting. In addition, the Court of Appeal in the Maina Kiai case ruled, and I quote again, reiterate as we conclude that there is no doubt from the architecture of the laws we have considered that the people of Kenya did not intend to vest or concentrate such sweeping and boundless powers in one individual, that is the chairperson of the appellant. That is why I and Azimio La Umoja One Kenya and the nation at large were shocked yesterday to learn that Mr. Chebukati alone decided to pronounce himself on the supposed winner of the 2022 presidential elections. We understand that only Mr. Chebukati alone had access to the tally of the presidential vote. He denied all the commissioners access to that information until it suddenly appeared before the commissioners in the late afternoon to present them with a fait accompli. Barely 2 hours before his announcement, Mr. Chebukati called a meeting of the IEBC and revealed to them the different results he was going to announce. 4 of the 7 protested Mr. Chebukati's actions. But Mr. Chebukati, whose mind appeared made up, did not entertain any discussion of the results, precipitating a walkout by a majority of the commissioners who promptly denounced the results at a press conference. We know what happened next. A majority of the commissioners walked out and held a press conference where they denounced the results. Our view in Azimio is clear. The figures announced by Mr. Chebukati are null and void.
The figures announced by Mr. Chebukati are null and void. Before coming to Barrister, because I'm sure he will have a lot to talk about the issues raised by Raila Odinga, whether they are consistent with the Constitution or they are repugnant to the Constitution. Dr. Michael Ndimancho, no, I think with you, Dr. Michael Ndimancho, your reaction from the 2 speeches. Raila was attacking the chairman than the Constitution.
Yeah, Raila is in one way, a little bit confused about what he really wants to do. Let me tell you, the kind of politics that Raila wants to play now is a politics of the last kick of a dying horse. And sometimes there's a horse that when it falls down, it must jerk off his legs to let people know that I've fallen. And that is what Raila is trying to play now. It is a shame because he has even called on his militants not to do any non-violent revolt. Yes, which is a good thing, and I'm happy about that. This is somebody that we even talked about the handshake. Do you even know that immediately after the handshake, Raila was appointed as the Commissioner for Infrastructure and Development in the African Union by Kenyatta. So you see that there are a lot of things that Raila is trying to be to show proof of the fact that he has a positive face in the face of Kenyans, which of course cannot hold grants, because Kenyans have understood Raila Odinga. Let me not even talk about the time he was the prime minister in 2008, because he became a prime minister from about 2008 to about 2012. Yes, and people have understood him.
And he ran Rutu.
Of course. That is the issue.
Thing.
That is the funny thing that we have to know about him. So this is somebody, he thinks that Kenyans, they forget very soon. And if you look at his political life, from, let's just take from 2013 when he started running, I mean, even 1997, you will realize that this is somebody who has become very, very inconsistent in his way of doing things. Now, he says here that, is it playing diplomacy to Carrefour, that he says Wafula presented a result, a right one, and then took a different one and read to the people. Was he there? Who is giving him all the information? Or they are those 4 people who worked and who have been paid?
And he did not even present the one he had.
He didn't even present the one he had. And the fact is that he has condemned the whole electoral process.
And called it a joke.
Yes, and called it a joke. So even if they presented the one that he says they left behind, they discarded, he will have still revindicated if he won. So exactly, which he himself voted. So we need to be very, very careful about some of these things that we are talking about. You know, Kenyans have known that since 2017, a lot of things happened. You know that the violent nature of the elections in 2017, you know, there is one Christopher Msando who was killed, who was a member of the Electoral Commission, who was killed. Ruto, as we see him, in 2017, his house was attacked.
Yes. And
the bodyguard, I mean, the guard killed. So Kenyans are bringing this.
And even during the election, one of the IEBC members was found dead.
Exactly, was found dead. A
returning officer.
Yes, he's in charge of communication whatsoever. So Kenyans know the kind of diplomacy to Carrefour that Raila is trying to play. Raila has played a kind of politics whereby he has fed himself fat and fed his family fat and fed his village fat. And it's that issue of the national cake. And when he starts to make this kind of declarations, and the people are listening to that kind of declaration, and then they go back memory lane to what has happened and take his parkour up to where he is now, knowing that he is already at the blink of collapse. Because let me not tell you, after 5 years, Raila Odinga cannot go again for presidential election. That will be, as Mr. Ndium said, I think that he needs to groom a son. We have seen in the DRC Congo, in the DRC, where Cedrick, the father, I mean, groomed the son, who is the president today. Why do we think that it is only us, the fathers, who have to be the president of this country? This is somebody who did something and the child came up. That man, the father, did not ever succeed. And he became old like this man. He did not ever succeed to come closer to context. So, but you see that the son came up and he had the luck and the people believed in him. Why can't this man, after they accept the fact that he has lost it all? Is it power at all costs?
Yes.
Is it power by blood and by whatsoever that he has to need? Because you remember 2017, I will still quote it, about 50 people were killed and 100 people were injured. And Kenyans are like asking, what for? When after that, they had to make their peace. After the I mean, there was a handshake, and this is really what I mean. So after all of this game, at the end of it, you come and make a handshake and you love yourself.
And Hutu was against the handshake.
And let me tell you, do you know where the historic part of it is? The handshake was done at the morning prayer session. So after all this, you go to church and pray, and then you make. And what about the people who have died? And I think that this is where Kenyans need to be very, very careful about the rhetorics of this man.
Do you want to react? Because Senior Barrister will react last on this because he has a lot of legal issues to look into. Well, from the two speeches.
I want to look at his body language first. It is failing. His body
so language. So you agree with Barrister Ashu?
But yes, why not? I mean that all of his body language tells it all. He is very guilty endogenically. And so, anybody who believes in him is at his own risk. When you even hear his wordings coming out, they are coming out not successively.
He's trembling.
Trembling. That is the speech of a man who knows that he's about to fool people to go into a cause, which is a lost cause. You see, these kind of politicians are the kind of politicians we have to be very careful with them in Africa. Because Africa has come of age. Like I said, we are still managing in the process to build our own democracy that will suit our own system and our context. But a genuine politician, like Frundi did in '92, For those who think that I always look at Frundi of today. Frundi said he will not assent to Etude, crossing over the blood of people. Now, a genuine politician will prefer to preserve lives than to lose lives to gain power. Because the greatest power is the lives of the people that matters in your hand. So this man, I don't think he's serious. Just from his body language, he tells it all. I think you can give the microphone.
No, but briefly, what about the speech from the president-elect?
No, the president-elect...
He says the IEBC is the winner, and not that the portals were open. That all you did is just a calculator.
When I talk about body language, if you go to the other person, even if you are blind and you successfully touch on his body, you discover that this is the right person at the right time. Look, when he says Kenyans have won, he is not saying that my party has won. He is not saying that I have won. He says Kenya has won.
40 million.
Somehow, somewhat, we can understand that in political gymnastics, there's a lot of linguistic inflation. But even from that linguistic inflation, you can still be able to deduce who has the country at heart. When you look at the two of them, you discover that Ruto has the country at heart more than Jinga. Like Dr. Ndimancho has said, like Dr. Ndimancho has put it very rightly, Jinga has fed his family, his village, himself. He's very comfortable at in that area. But then he wants to paint a positive picture of him to those who are not at his immediate surrounding, to think that he has the country at heart. He doesn't. He doesn't. Let's look at somebody who considers that his party won, but it is the nation that won. He wants to work. Let's give him that benefit of doubt. Because for me, I cannot accord 1 second of benefit of doubt to Raila again. Somebody whom for 5 years has not succeeded to reach the finish line, but he wants to become...
But his supporter says he's president élu. That is the rightful president.
It is...
Maybe he has learned from Cameroon.
Well, anyway, anyway, they are right to say so. They are right to say so. If at all, in court, we were in democracy, all the two camps have the right to claim...
Just a comment. There is issue about popularity and media popularity in Cameroon. The number of people who come to a rally doesn't signify the fact that they are for you.
Yes.
We have seen that in Cameroon yesterday. Yeah, we need to be very careful with this issue.
Most of them
See,
Africans
Africans are very poor. Africans are very poor. And we have had this culture whereby when you have a gathering, a lot of people come because they want to eat. They don't come actually because they are coming to your ceremony. They come because they are hungry and they want to eat. So when you see a population like this, don't think that that population has come purposely because they buy your idea. It's because they are coming to have what
Just
to
1
eat.
second, Tah Mai. That is what doctor is trying to say. There's a difference between popularity and relevance. Because you can be very popular, but you are irrelevant. That's what African politicians are trying to understand.
Okay. What happened? All the opinion polls were in favor of Raila, despite the fact that Ruto had denounced the opinion polls and said they were politically motivated and aimed at plunging Kenya in a post-electoral violence that he believes the ballot will speak than opinion polls. And Raila's team also is quoting the opinion polls, that opinion polls have projected them as the winner.
No, opinion polls are just wishful thinking. The wishes of people. They are not voting, or they are not voters' wish. They are just something to project that this person will win. It doesn't mean that at the end of the day, it is that person that will win. Right from May, opinion polls were showing that Odinga will be the winner. But if you look at the voter turnout, it was not in his favor. He did little work in the counties that were his stronghold. He did little work campaign there that could make people to turn out to vote massively for him. I think it is time for him to go to rest and give chances to the younger generation. And he serves now as a consultant in Kenya in matters of election. And he can be a good consultant to, since he has failed a lot, he can be able to teach a lot of people on those who will be coming behind him. And also concerning the president-elect, Ruto, from his speech, I noticed something that he said Kenyans won not on the basis of tribal, meaning that saying that they surpassed.
Yes, the election this time was not on tribal issues.
Not on tribal basis. And that is what we are dying every day. We are vying every day to see in most African countries. Because most post-colonial African states were built on tribal basis. Right? Even in Kenya, the Kenya we're talking about, it was built on tribal basis. If you see,
you have the Kikiyus, yes, you have those from Kenya.
They were always the one ruling. Odinga is from one of those minority tribes. So he was still running based on that notion of tribalism, that it is our turn, our tribe to be president also. I think we are wishing that most African countries should learn from Kenya to see beyond the tribe. The tribe is a very dangerous thing when it comes to democracy. It is anti-democratic. When the tribe people is one of the key things that are killing African democracy. And this our own generation. We cannot count on this, the older generation. Their mind is based on that, has been built on that. They can never change. I think our own younger generation coming up should be looking beyond that. We are also praying that next door Nigeria next year should not go that way, the way of the tribe also, and then vote competent people. Or they talk about leadership. They should vote competent leaders to change our story. We cannot have a continent that is as rich as what we cannot even quantify, and we are seeing the laughing stock of the world. It is high time we look beyond this issue of tribal inclinations when it comes to democracy.
Thank you very much. Senior Barrister Acho, lots of statements were made by Raila Odinga, you from a constitutional level. First of all, Raila said the chairman, Chebukati Wafula, presented something that disregard the constitution first, and also said that the law is clear, that the role of the chairperson is not to declare the election, is not to be a dictator. Now, Article 138 of the Kenyan Constitution, which talked about the results, it says, Article 138 sub 10 says, within 7 days after the presidential election, the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission shall, 10A, declare the result of the election, 10B, deliver a written notification of the result to the Chief Justice and the incumbent president. Now, but Raila is saying something else. Where do we stand in terms of constitutionality based on what is in their constitution?
The constitution is very clear. If Raila takes what he has said on TV to the Supreme Court of Kenya, he's going to lose the case. Because his arguments are not based on any facts. They're based on his assessment, based on what came into his head, and he was not really sure of himself when he was saying that. You know, the law is clear. The law says 7 days after presidential election. It means the counting process must have been done within 7 days. And to understand who has won and who has not won, President Ruto said it clearly. Take your calculator and go from county to county to count.
So the portal was open, all the figures were on the portal.
That's why when I went through a series of journals or newspapers in Kenya,
posted on their website.
Most of them had the results. And to the best of my, most of them were in favor of Ruto. That's why you see the Kenyan population is very quiet. Because the journalists themselves, they were monitoring the elections, come out with the positive results for Ruto. It means the Electoral Commission has done its job. You should know that these 7 members of the executive, they don't participate effectively in the counting process. They receive voting return sheets, tally them, put them together, and declare who is the winner. And as per the constitution, there's only one person who does that declaration. He's the president, the chairman of the Electoral and Boundary Commission alone. There's no way that he said that he's supposed to be by vote. There's no way the commission said that there should be they should sit down and decide.
He said in the speech which continued, he said they did not reach a quorum, that the quorum was not met. But constitutionally, they talk about the constitution, they talk about a quorum. They said the president declares. So when you are doing the declaration, it goes without saying that you're not even the one who must have tallied. Other people must have done it.
compiled it and brought it before you. He just did what he was supposed to do constitutionally. And they say 7 days after, if you're not happy with the results, you go to the Supreme Court. So that's what we're expecting Raila to do. But if it's on the basis of the facts or what he has said on TV, what I've heard as a legal mind, I'm sorry for him. It's not going to be tenable. I'm waiting for people like Professor Lumumba to come out to say something about it.
Lumumba.
But I'm sure he must understand that politics is something else, not academics, because that guy is very academic and not political. I'm waiting for you to hear from an opinion leader by him. I'm surprised that up to now, he's still, his mouth is tight. He's not talking. I know he's very outspoken. Well, I realize that in this region, he's not saying anything, and many others like him in Kenya. So it goes without saying that the good majority of the population supports Ruto as their new president.
But before the election, Professor Lumumba said the Kenyan people must understand that it's not about the forest. The forest is not the problem, it's the monkey in the forest. That they focus on changing the forest bed, not the monkey. And he has also mentioned that the law should be respected. He defended Uhuru last time within the election, though he was defeated in court by the nullification, but he still stands to the fact that we must do things respecting the Constitution.
Yes, and I buy that. For that is what we should do. But I'm expecting to say that again now. I'm surprised he's not yet done that. But we're waiting for him.
He's watching you.
Yeah, he's opinion leader.
I sent him a message.
Yeah, whose opinion is very, very capital. So I've not heard from him, so I'm surprised at what's going on. But everything being equal, I know the Kenyan population is very mature.
So legally, there's no problem with the legality.
In the legality,
because he did not even cite the breach.
No, you know, Raila, I don't think he's a lawyer, so he didn't say what was wrong.
He has a legal team now.
Okay, yeah, but the order have coached him not to say any type of thing that you cannot back up legally. Because you cannot say the electoral commission is not a democratic institution. It has its rules and regulations already determined by the constitution. They just have to follow it. They cannot change it.
He says the chairman is a dictator. Attacking the chairman than the constitution.
The constitution says it's the chairman to declare. How can the constitution of a country provide for something and you want to attack that person? You see, you say it's a monkey and forest issue which is coming up. Which is the forest and which is the monkey now? So you have to determine. But for the monkey is the constitution. Whether you like it or not, that constitution will always stay. Whether you like it or not, that's what is supposed to be the rule of law. Whether you like it or not, going to the Supreme Court, that's what the Supreme Court magistrates will look at.
But there is a problem. When the BBI initiative came out, still with you, the BBI initiative went by Uhuru and Raila. They took it to the High Court nullified it. They took it to the Supreme Court, and Ruto still challenged it, and the Supreme Court ruled against their favor, against Raila's favor, against Uhuru's favor, that they don't want the BBI, which was aimed at expanding the government and creating new constituencies ahead of the election. Ruto's argument was that if new constituencies are created, it should not be prior to the election, it should be after the election. Then there should be a constitutional process whereby all is done by Kenyan. But the Supreme Court said the referendum was unconstitutional. Does that show separation of power?
Of course. You know, in Anglo-Saxon countries, where they practice what we call locally common law, most of the judges are independent. And you see, independent doesn't mean you depending on somebody. You use the law on your conscience alone, irrespective of whatever pressure might come from left, right, from up or from below. That's what makes you a judge. The fact you can stand on your sword and say yes and no to what is right or what is wrong. Okay. But you know, Kenya has that type of setup. Despite the fact that the Supreme Court judges are nominated by the president, but immediately they assume the functions, they exercise their independence of mind. They don't wait for anybody to tell them. Because nobody will tell you. If I'm the president, I can impress on you and you accept. It means you're not independent. But I'll do that because it's going to be my advantage. So you need to have persons who have of caliber, of sound mind, who can stand their swords to be judges at the Supreme Court, like what we have in Kenya.
Briefly.
But you should understand that President Uhuru, as per their agreement, had to back Raila against his own vice president.
Who supported him? Who made him president?
Who made him president? You have to understand that's politics. He stood by his word because he had given his word that I will support you next time.
And he campaigned.
I am sure his vice president understood. And that's why maybe that's yes. Maybe that is the fact. Because you were waiting on somebody to support you to run. Meanwhile, it means you cannot stand on your own. The proof has been that for the past 5 years, 5 times he has lost. It means on his own, he cannot. He needs some pedestal to stand on, which is not one of the good qualities of a president. A president should be someone who's independent and ready to serve.
He ought to be independent because now it means that he does not have the moral grounds to say anything about the election because he has vested his interest.
Always blaming. Always blaming is not a good thing for people at that level. You don't blame others. You don't blame institutions.
I take on you briefly before coming to Dr. Ndimancho. Briefly, what made the 2017 declaration election to be nullified? These are some of the points that Chief Justice David Maraga highlighted. That the IEBC did not use electronic transmission system in tallying the result according to the constitution, and that also that they only relied on text messages that came to tally, which was wrong, and that they rely on photographs that were snapped and sent, and that was why the justice reached a decision that it should be nullified. Also, that the tallying process was not done as required by the constitution, and that it was done in an obscure manner where it was not transparent for Kenyans to see. And they also said that the forms from 3A did not have the serial numbers that came to the tallying center, which proved that they were not legalized, they could not have independency and could not be sure. But all these things were now done this year. They were corrected this year. Do we see a stand of nullification even after all these have been corrected? The results, public portal, serial numbers, they did not object the certification process. They approved the certification process to the end, the tallying process, but now went out when the final results have been tallied.
After the final results have been declared. You see, that's the mistake they made. It was when the president declared results that they decided to go dissident. But in any case, I cannot prejudge what a court will say at the end of the day. As a lawyer, we are not supposed to do that.
We're looking at what we have.
I don't agree with him on the fact that you cannot say text messages are not electronic. They also use electronics. You cannot say photograph messages are not electronic. I will not agree with that. But in any case, that was the decision.
But and those corrections were made.
It binds everybody, and the corrections were made accordingly. Now it has come. The elections have been done this year. And you should understand that it was mixed elections, parliamentary and presidential. And you know, parliamentary elections are usually local. It means everything is studied there and declared there. Before even going to the commission, everything is done there. And you see, the two ballot boxes were in the same place. So you cannot tell me that everybody was there monitoring parliamentary elections. It had no problem. The presidential election has a problem.
Yeah, because none have objected the parliamentary result, none have objected the senatorial result, none have objected the gubernatorial result, none have approved it. But when it came to the presidential election, they said no.
They said no, that's what the problem is. And they say, they don't want to tell me that Kenyans don't have calculators. I will not agree. They have calculators.
Dr. Michael Ndimancho, nobody has objected the parliamentary result because all were the same police station, one ballot. All were the same police station. Nobody had objected the gubernatorial elections. Nobody had objected the senatorial election. In fact, the coalition, the Kenya Kwanza of William Ruto and the Azimio of Odinga have celebrated their senatorial, have celebrated their parliamentarians. But why this discrepancy in the presidential election? Don't they believe that you can vote for a parliamentarian in a party and vote for a different president in a different party?
And now I understand, as I said, presidency at all cost. And this is a sheer mark of selfishness. I want to come first to the chair lady of the electoral committee. Yes, the vice chair, Juliana Cherera. I think that lady needs to be investigated. It is a sheer mark of unprofessionalism. It shows that there is something that the eye doesn't see. And I think that immediately after this election, I doubt whether they will remain in Kenya. Because this is something that they will have sorted out. It appears as if money circulated somewhere and they wanted just to tarnish the image. They saw that it was like a do or die for Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga knows that he's at the finish line, and he knows that if he doesn't cross that line, it is all for him. And it's true, it is all for him. Because you look at the development of issues in Kenya concerning this election, where Raila Odinga knows that actually he is supposed to collaborate, because there were two running mates according to the 2010 presidential election. I mean, I've seen the other running mate. He's very mute.
Gashogwa.
Yeah, Gashogwa is very mute about this issue. And that's what is disturbing. It's very, very disturbing because he's very, very mute about this issue. Perhaps because he feels that he still has some chances and Raila doesn't have any chance there. And Raila is saying that this is the last chance that I have. I must make my thoughts and my mind clear on this issue. And that either we spoil it or it doesn't work any longer. And now you see that this is a sheer mark of selfishness. And I was talking about these dissident guys who separated themselves. And when I announced election, this is a repeat of something happened in Cameroon, where some people went to a small room and they announced that this is the President Elu. And I asked myself, President Elu is announced in a small room, and then you just think that, people just have to celebrate that. I think that these are kind of things that Africa doesn't. In 2017, thanks to Barack Obama, when he was finishing his last mandate, he called for calm
in Kenya.
And this thing was still caused by Raila Odinga. And I think that Ruto should be very, very careful. These are some of kind of the people that they should even go on exile. You should even send them on exile. Because these are not people who have the Kenyan people at heart. So, as you said, they are not contesting the parliamentary election because they see that this is not juicy enough for them to go on. They're not contesting. So you find that people who want to be at the top, they want to command. People want to be at the limelight. People want to be at a place where they discuss with the world. So it is not even an issue of sitting. Nobody has apologized, and I even want him to apologize for the 50 lives that were lost in 2017. The man has never ever said anything about it.
And even the one officer who was killed.
Nobody has said anything. So you now see that the blood of Africans is worth the political ambitions of Africans, of politicians, which is not supposed to be so. Any drop of blood of any African is not supposed to be worth any political ambition of any African. And now, but we have seen that we are playing ping pong with people's lives. And I think it is time the Kenyans actually sit together. You see, in 2013, when Ruto and Kenyatta won, they won who? Mwai Kibaki.
Yes.
And Mwai Kibaki left him very quietly and went and said, I've served my people. There's no need I have to be fighting you. And I think it was okay for them. But it was rather Raila Odinga at that very 2013 who started rioting and said he has lost and that they have rigged and all of that. Has it become a trademark? I think that we have to leave this issue of President Elu. President Elu is actually seen in the ballot boxes. The chairman of the electoral board has said, we have pasted this thing on the website for anybody to get in.
The was ongoing on the website.
This is not seen anywhere in Africa. This is seen in very rare countries in Africa. Where you open
even in the US, you don't
see that. So when we see Ruto congratulating Wafula, it means that this is work well done. Because I myself I opened to that website and I saw and I was going to and I was asking because Raila Odinga was supposed to say this is my own result.
Yeah,
and also
and
my own tally and Pest is also on it. So that as he's arguing, we should also look at this and look at the difference that he has. But the man is talking is out of his rhetorics. He's talking and shaking. His man is talking from the point of view of, of solidarity. He's not even talking from the point of view of authority. So I think that it is time this thing gets, we get over all of this.
Well, Tah Mai, I think the bottom line of today's topic is we are talking about whether Cameroon should learn some lessons from Kenya. And it will be very important for us to gently make a reminder that Cameroon should learn some lessons. We are talking about Ruto. Ruto should be the fifth president of Kenya.
He's a fifth
elected. He should be the fifth elected president of Kenya. And we are still having the second, which is almost the longest serving in the world, if I say almost, because it can still be contested. I know Barrister is here.
The most democratic.
We can equally celebrate the time frame at which the election results were proclaimed.
7 days.
7 days. I think that in Cameroon we have the Judicial laboratory, we have the Constitutional Council laboratory, we have the laboratory. They have to go for months before the doctor or the results come out.
We have at least 2 weeks. When you say months,
no, the last one was 1 month. And we started even I questioned on your platform 2018, don't remember that, but I've been itchy to have the results of my country. So I think, like people who want to learn and grow, if we all believe that Africa, our dear mother continent, should go forward, when a neighbor does something correct, we need to tap from such example. I want to think that in the next election that will be coming up in Cameroon, 2025, of which I've always been involved. That's one thing. That's one thing. Yes, I have the right to be a candidate.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a bona fide citizen of Cameroon. Of course.
No, Naya will project you. And you will
yeah, of course. And I have always been involved. Because my voter's card has always been with me. Even the last election, I presented myself. I worked in this polling station. That is why I've always said, instead of running away from Cameroon to fight Cameroon from outside, I prefer to stay in the land and fight the change while in my land. So I think while being on the spot to fight the change in my own land, which I so much cherish, I want to think that by 2025, such examples from Kenya should be copied in Cameroon. We should have people who can independently, because I want to think the Constitutional Council, there is no way you will ever tell me that it's independent. No, it is somebody's private asset. That person is in a 2D. I want to think that in 2025, we should give ourselves that opportunity as Cameroonians to be independent in whatever task, for whosoever shall be called up in electoral matters. I think that is one of the things that shall attract the attention of Cameroonians to massively come out. Because we discover that they are very reluctant in coming out to vote is because over time it has been proven that their vote do not count.
Okay.
But I want to think that in 2025 their vote things should be done in a way that every vote, your vote, my vote, should count.
So we should be looking at President Zoom Emmanuel, candidate President Zoom Emmanuel 2025.
Why not? I'm a Cameroon. I have all the right.
Thank you for coming. We are out of time. Thank you for coming, Nick.
Thank you. I think what the Cameroon electoral process or system still needs a lot of reformation. The system is so much analog, and there's no way elections can be credible in that kind of system.
Okay.
The electoral laws are still repugnant. That needs revision, and I think if we can be learning,
we're out of time.
Yeah, no,
we're out of time. Thank you for coming.
I think we can be learning from other examples like Kenya. We influence more Cameroonians to come out and vote and believe in the electoral system.
Thank you very much, Senior Barrister Achu, for coming. We appreciate your input.
Thank you very much for having invited me. We've had a nice talk today, and I'm sure Cameroonians are very much edified. But on the contrary, I think Kenya has to learn a lot from Cameroon because the way our system is done, everything is clear. It's difficult to have contest. It's difficult to have problems. And every problem is already been catered for in our constitution and the laws. And you understand that we have an electoral law which is very clear. I'm very different from in such a way that when once elections are declared, there's no way you can change it. But in any case, I realized that like the so-called President Elu, we were in the Constitutional Council, and normally what people don't know is that we have about 25,000 polling stations. So it means if you want to win elections, you will be capable of having at least 25,000 tally sheets, return sheets. Okay. Every polling station must have 3 of your kind. And if you don't have that, when results come, you're not there, you have to blame people. MRC has had only 33 return sheets out of 25,000, and they claim they won out. Okay. So the type of things that Kenyans will learn from us. Okay. We are capable of telling them how to do it and train them anytime without any problem.
I'm sure Professor Pierre Lumumba is watching, and maybe we will react subsequently next edition. Thank you for coming, Dr. Michael Ndimancho.
Yes, like Pierre Lumumba, as you said, will say they are not their excellency, they are their dishonesties. So I think, yes, in as much as there's an election in Africa where there's no bloodshed, I like it. And I think that Africa should come of age, and we should value the lives of people more than individual, individual aspirations. And I would say that Kenya should show proof of democracy. Let Kenya actually show proof of democracy. There is a young man who is coming off at 55, and I think that this young man has a vision. And of course, the world is changing today because of the ambition, the vision, the zest of the youth. And I consider him a youth. Of course, he has learned power because he has been a vice president since 2013, and of course, and I think that this is what I stand to inspire the youth about. And Mr. Njum, if he is here today tomorrow, wants to be the president, I'm going to support him. Neya is going to support him. Barrister Achu is going to support him.
We'll give him the platform.
Yeah, of course.
And
I must say that I'm so happy that I met Barrister Achu again on the platform. It is always a pleasure.
This time, no confrontation.
Yeah, of course, no confrontation. Because we're not talking about Cameroon. I know that we disagree. One is Cameroon. Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. I want to thank you, Hussein Mohammed, the communication officer, campaign officer of William Ruto, and also that of the Azimoi. I contacted the both communication officers. They gave me an insight as to what is happening in Kenya, and also want to say good afternoon to you, Professor P.L. Olumumba, who is also watching us in Nairobi, and we hope to have you on one of our editions here on House of Commons. We want to call on you, dear Kenyans, that at the end of the day, as William Ruto said, it is Kenya that won, and you should not attack the ICEBC chairman. You should look at the constitution. Happy Sunday to you, Yvonne Kewera, George in Kenya, that is Nairobi. I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matters is your matter. And what should matter for you, Kenyans, is that peace should be at the center and not violence. My name is Tah Mai Jarvis from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Thank Gujong Bange. Bye-bye.
Welcome to a new world of TV broadcasting. My Media Prime. News,